let me tell you something that no one else will. You are not your mistakes. You are not that one bad decision, that missed opportunity, that moment when you let yourself down. You are a living, breathing, evolving force of nature, and the world has no idea what's coming when you finally decide to rise. But before you take over the world, there's one thing you've got to do: forgive yourself. We're taught to chase perfection, straight A's, flawless skin, ideal careers, the perfect relationship. But life, it's messy, it's loud, it's complicated, and sometimes you'll fall flat on your face. I have. You will. Everyone does. But here's what separates the dreamers from the doers: the ones who make peace with the past, who own their scars like medals. Those are the ones who change the game. Let's be real. Self-forgiveness isn't a soft, gentle act. It's a power move. It's staring yourself in the mirror and saying, yes, I messed up. But that was then. This is now. So stop carrying guilt like it's some badge of honor. Let it go. Not because you're perfect, but because you're ready. Because once you forgive yourself, you become unstoppable. That energy, it shifts. The world starts noticing. Doors open. People listen. And suddenly, you're not apologizing for taking up space, you're commanding it. So take your pain, your missteps, your resilience, and build with it. Build an empire. Build a life that makes people whisper, how did they do it? And when they ask, you smile and say, I forgave myself, and then I took over the world. We live in a world that loves labels. People are quick to categorize you based on one chapter of your life: a failure, a misstep, a choice you regret. But let's get something straight. You are not a single moment. You are not the job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't work out, or the time you let fear make the decision for you. Those things may have happened, but they are not you. They are experiences, not definitions. We all make mistakes, every single one of us. But somehow, when it's your mistake, you're made to believe it's a life sentence. It's not. It's a lesson, maybe even a redirection. When we mess up, society loves to hand us a label: careless, lazy, selfish, weak. And it's easy to start wearing that label like it's your new identity. But that label, tear it off. Burn it. You don't owe anyone the performance of perfection. You owe yourself the grace to evolve. When you carry the weight of your past on your back, it slows you down. You start to believe the whispers in your own head that say, that voice, that's not truth. That's fear. That's shame talking. And it doesn't deserve a mic. Every so-called mistake you've made was a stepping stone, a building block. You just didn't know at the time that falling flat was going to make you stand taller later. But now you do. You don't need to erase the past to move forward. You just need to stop letting it sit in the driver's seat. Think about it. Some of the most brilliant, powerful people you admire didn't get there by having a clean, polished life. They got there by falling, failing, and getting back up. Sometimes bloodied, sometimes doubted, sometimes completely alone, but they kept going. And so can you. If your past makes people uncomfortable, let them be uncomfortable. You don't owe comfort to anyone but yourself. Letting go of the idea that your past defines you doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means owning it without letting it own you. It means looking at the worst parts of your story and saying, that happened. And I'm still here, not despite it, but because of it. The moment you stop shrinking under the weight of your mistakes and start standing on top of them is the moment the world begins to see who you really are. And trust me, you're not even close to finished yet. Forgiveness is often painted as this soft, delicate thing, like it's about lighting candles and whispering affirmations in a quiet room. But let me tell you the truth: forgiving yourself is raw. It's gritty. It's a fight. It's standing in front of the mirror, locking eyes with your own reflection, and choosing to accept the parts of you that no one else claps for. That's not weakness. That's not avoidance. That is strength, the kind that's earned, not inherited. People will always tell you to move on, but no one really teaches you how to. The truth is, Most of us aren't stuck because of what others did to us. We're stuck because of the things we can't forgive ourselves for. That one thing you said, that time you gave up, the person you hurt, the opportunity you wasted. And so you carry it, replay it, punish yourself for it in quiet ways. But here's the thing, you can't hate yourself into a better version of you. You have to meet yourself where you fell and love yourself back up. We're conditioned to be hard on ourselves, especially if we're ambitious, driven, or expected to be strong. We think strength means pushing through, pretending we're okay. But real strength, it's not in the pretending, it's in the healing. It's in the moment you stop beating yourself up and start holding space for the version of you that made a mistake. That version wasn't evil. That version was just learning. And learning is messy. If you want to grow, you've got to make room for that mess. Forgiving yourself doesn't erase the past. It reclaims it. It tells the world, yes, I did that. Yes, I went through that. But I'm still choosing to rise. That's not soft. That's fierce. When you forgive yourself, you stop bleeding energy into shame and start channeling it into power. You stop apologizing for your existence and start showing up in rooms like you deserve to be there. Because you do. Strength isn't just surviving the storm, it's rebuilding after the wreckage. The world expects you to crumble under guilt. Let them expect it, and then prove them wrong. Every time you choose self-forgiveness, you're choosing to show up, not as the version of you the world finds acceptable, but as your whole evolving, unedited self. And that choice, that's the bravest one there is. Because forgiving yourself isn't the end of weakness, it's the beginning of your power. You cannot build a future if you're still living in emotional debt to your past. Growth, the real soul-shifting kind, doesn't begin when everything is perfect. It begins when you sit with the parts of yourself you don't like and say, I see you. I still choose you. Self-forgiveness is not a detour on the road to growth. It is the road. You cannot evolve while you're still punishing yourself for who you were. Growth stops the moment you stop disowning your past and start owning your transformation. Let's get real. Pretending you've moved on when you haven't is just emotional procrastination. You can buy a new outfit, change your hair, move to a new city, start a new job. But if you haven't forgiven yourself, you're still stuck. You're growing in circles, not forward. True growth requires emotional honesty, and that means asking yourself the hard questions. What am I still holding against myself? What would change if I finally let it go? Self-forgiveness is how you clear the emotional clutter so something new can actually take root. You can hustle all day, grind all night, stack achievements like trophies. But if you're still silently ashamed of who you used to be, none of that external success is going to feel real, because deep down, you'll think you don't deserve it. That's how unhealed guilt works. It makes you sabotage the very things you've worked for. But once you forgive yourself, the energy shifts. Your growth becomes authentic. You stop performing and you start becoming. That's the shift from survival mode to expansion mode. Self-forgiveness allows you to meet yourself with compassion. And that is the most powerful fertilizer for growth. It doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or ignoring consequences. It means learning from it so deeply that you never have to repeat that lesson again. That's what mature growth looks like, not perfection, but integration. You take the broken pieces and you weave them into your story, not as shameful chapters, but as proof of your strength. You grow because you choose to, not because you're trying to escape what you've done. When you forgive yourself, you give yourself permission to evolve without apology. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your growth. You stop needing permission to rise. And that's when growth really accelerates. When it's fueled by your own inner freedom, not your fear of staying the same. The past no longer dictates your pace. You become your own momentum. And that is when your transformation starts to feel undeniable. There's something magnetic about a person who walks into a room and doesn't flinch at their imperfections. Not because they've figured it all out, but because they're done hiding. When you own your flaws, you take back control of your story. You stop letting people weaponize your insecurities against you. You flip the script. And suddenly, what used to feel like shame becomes your sharpest edge, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. We live in a culture obsessed with filters, not just on our photos, but in our personalities, our resumes, our conversations. We curate our lives so carefully that even our flaws are edited. But behind every perfect post is a human being with doubts, regrets, and scars. The moment you stop hiding your mess and start owning it, you stop being afraid of exposure. You step into a different kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't need to be polished, just true. That's power that doesn't need approval. Owning your flaws doesn't mean you're proud of every mistake. It means you're not afraid of them anymore. You can speak your truth without shrinking. You can be seen fully and not flinch. That scares people because most are still living in performance mode. But when you show up in your raw, unfiltered self, you give others permission to do the same. You become the mirror that says, flaws don't disqualify you, they humanize you. And in a world full of masks, authenticity becomes a rebellion. Some of the most powerful people aren't the ones who pretend to be bulletproof. They're the ones who've been broken, rebuilt, and are no longer ashamed of the cracks. That's the paradox. The parts of you that you once tried to hide are the very parts that make you relatable, magnetic, unforgettable. People don't connect to perfection, they connect to truth. And the moment you stop hiding your flaws, you become unforgettable not in spite of them, but because of them. Flaws are not failures. They're fingerprints. They mark you as human, as someone who's lived, tried, risked hurt, and healed. You want to stand out, be real, be flawed, be someone who doesn't apologize for being in process. That energy, the kind that says, this is who I am, take it or leave it, is more powerful than any flawless facade. Because when you stop rejecting parts of yourself, the world stops rejecting you too. You're no longer asking for space. You're claiming it. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, and you build it through acceptance. Not surface level, fake it till you make it. Acceptance. I'm talking about the deep, gritty kind where you stop fighting who you are and start embracing every part of your identity. The loud parts, the soft parts, the parts that don't fit into anyone else's mold. Real confidence comes when you stop performing for the world and start standing solid in your truth. We're constantly told that confidence means being flawless, walking tall, looking perfect, knowing all the answers. But that's not confidence. That's control. And control is exhausting. Confidence begins when you stop chasing perfection and start embracing your whole self, your talent. Yes, but also your awkwardness, your hesitations, your moments of doubt. It's not the absence of insecurity. It's the refusal to let insecurity be the loudest voice in the room. When you accept yourself, truly accept yourself, you stop shrinking to fit into people's expectations. You stop editing yourself for approval. You don't need everyone to like you. You just need you to believe in who you are. And that shift, that's the birth of power. Because once you're okay with being disliked, misunderstood, or even underestimated, you become untouchable. Your value is no longer up for debate. It's a fact you carry in your posture, in your tone, in the way you take up space unapologetically. Acceptance is not complacency. It's not saying, I'll never change. It's saying, I love myself enough to grow from a place of worth, not from shame. That's the difference. Shame tells you you need to be better because you're not enough. But self-acceptance says you deserve better because you are enough. That internal shift from judgment to compassion is the difference between self-sabotage and self-respect. Confidence rooted in acceptance doesn't shake when the world criticizes you. It steadies. Most people are looking for confidence in the wrong places, in titles, in likes, in someone else's praise, but all of that fades. What stays is what you build inside when no one's watching. When you decide, day by day, to stop waiting for permission to love yourself, that kind of confidence doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It just has to be real. And the more you accept who you are, the more the world adjusts to your presence. Not the other way around.